A movie about a lovable Saint Bernard dog that gets rabies and kills people. Sounds like fun. Cujo! Like Carrie, only Cujo. So yeah, this is a movie that was made in 1983, and it's based on the book by Stephen King, who is who's considered by most to be the master of the 21st century and 20th century horror. And, well, he's written a bunch of books, and they're all horror books, and actually some of his stories are really cool, and this is one of them that I think is, okay, I guess. I haven't read the book, so I'm not going to be reviewing Stephen King or his books or anything. I'm just going to be going based on this movie, because as you know, a lot of times movies don't always go by the book, so to say. So the movie actually starts off kind of like Bambi, you know, with bunny rabbits running around the field, and then the dog starts chasing it. Oh, it's so cute. And then he gets his head stuck in a hole and he's bitten by a bat. And bats are evil, so something's going to happen! And, well, something does. And basically, he gets a little bump on his nose and he becomes rabid, which actually happens. There's nothing really supernatural about that. So it just basically says, he just starts going crazy and starts attacking other people. Now, like a lot of Stephen King stories, there's a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different plot lines that, if they're done right, it can really be pretty cool when it all comes together, but if it's done wrong, then it just looks real disjointed. In this movie, it took a while for it all to sort of come together to kind of make sense, like, you know, why are we doing this, you know? But the storylines and the people and the characters all do kind of intertwine together to where it turns out that there's going to be no one at this house where this mother and her child are going to be stuck at and their car broken down. And the thing is, it looks like, you know, there's all these different characters and storylines that are just, you know, going everywhere. But they actually do that for a reason, which I like reasons, especially for, you know, horror movies that already are a little hard to believe. But it's good that they all kind of, you know, go their separate ways, but it does kind of have a reason for it, and that's good. And I was a little afraid it wasn't going to do that, but at the end, it kind of hit me, wait, they're all alone, and this is why, and this is why, and this is why. That's cool. But basically, a mother gets stuck with her child inside of their car when they went to take it to this country farmer slash mechanic guy, and he just happened not to be there. In fact, his dog ate him, and that dog was Cujo. And they are stuck at this farmhouse inside the car in this really hot weather, and the battery's dead, so the car can't go anywhere, and they're stuck inside this with a maniacal, ravaging, rabid Saint Bernard dog on the outside, which, believe me, if a Saint Bernard was to really do something like this, you would be scared. I mean, you would be scared. Like, scared. Scared. So how was the plot line and all? Well, it wasn't really a very intricate plot. It just kind of happened. It's just you got here and then you're here. And, you know, which is good. I don't like plots that try to be too over-convoluted and, you know, like too deep and all that stuff. Because, you know, I mean, look, if you're going to make an art house movie, call it an art house movie. Don't say it's like the new horror flick of the century that's going to be awesome and because it's deep. Because that's not what we watch horror movies for. Some are good, and if you get that added in at the same time, fine, but you don't need it. And that's what's cool about Cujo, is that it just has a simple plot that just goes through. And so basically, the mother and their child just get stuck, and that's basically it. And then, you know, they try to find out a way to get out of there. It's kind of like a zombie movie, only the zombies are a giant Saint Bernard dog that's rabid and can eat you in like 2 seconds. So it was pretty cool. I gotta say, it was kind of intense. But the main problem with this movie is that it's very slow getting off the ground. The first scene you have is Cujo getting bitten by this bat that's rabid. But after that, it's basically just all these different plot lines and all these different people and, you know, following them and seeing what happens. And then that leads up to the final act of this movie, which is the mother and her kid getting stuck in the car being, you know, stalked by Cujo. And, you know, I guess you need all that build up to make it worth to make the end kind of pay off, but there really wasn't, I don't know, it didn't seem like it was quite that worth it. So it was kind of slow, really slow actually getting started, and it just didn't seem like it totally paid off at the end. As far as the acting goes, it was actually pretty cool. It was okay. I mean, you got your typical 80s characters, you know, you got the good old-fashioned dad, the mom that's sort of, you know, innovative and new, and the cool next-door neighbor guy that secretly has a crush on the wife, and then you got the kid who is just a kid. So the acting was all overall pretty good, and I'm surprised this kid was very young. I mean, he couldn't have been more than like six years old tops. But I mean, he was really, really good. I mean, he really acted just perfectly. I think he was one of the best in the movie, to tell you the truth. But the overall best acting, I gotta say, was from Cujo himself. I mean, this dog looked rabid, and that's very unusual for St. Bernards to be so mean and aggressive, because usually they are not mean. They don't do that kind of thing. They are known for being very good dogs. I mean, they're family dogs, really. So they're not bred to attack or to kill or anything like that. But yet they got this dog to look like it was going to kill you, and it was busting through the door and trying to get in. It was great. And so kudos to Cujo. He did a great job. Now I started off with this movie, and I guess I'm not being quite fair with it, saying that I'm not really sure I like it. And that's because I kind of had a little bit of a prejudice against it, and I may have mentioned this before, but I like animals, and I especially like dogs. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about a story that was just about a dog that gets bitten and then goes crazy and starts killing people and at the end has to die. I mean, it's like Old Yeller on steroids. I mean, it's sad and it's kind of depressing, but they make it so that at the end of this movie, you want to kill the dog yourself. It is just ridiculous how much you hate this dog. And it's a St. Bernard, one of the most lovable dogs there are, and you want to strangle this thing with your bare hands. It's amazing. So that didn't really get in the way too much for me, so I don't really mind, but that was something I was starting off with. That was a prejudice I was starting off with, but I think I overcame it. And with that said, I'm going to say that I wouldn't have this in my personal collection of DVDs or movies, but I will say it's probably worth your while. It's a good 80s horror flick, and even though it's kind of slow getting off the ground, I think the payoff's just good enough to where it's worth watching. And it's only about an hour and a half anyway, so, you know, might as well. So, yeah, I would say Cujo is pretty good. Not the best Stephen King story, but it's a pretty good one. And if you're a fan of his stories, then this is a must watch for you. So, what's your favorite dog breed? I mean, there's lots of them out there, and this kind of has something to do with the movie, but if you have a favorite dog breed, put it in the comments below and tell us all about it. As for me, there's only one dog breed that I love the best, and that's German Shepherds. You just can't beat them. They're so cool. But I guess a close would be a lab. You just can't beat a lab. But yeah, so that's Cujo. I'm Creature Hunt Guy, and I'll see you later.